And it's time now for a motion to adjourn with MP Chris Famous and Dwayne Robinson. And good afternoon, Chris. How are you, sir?
Good afternoon, brother. Doing how you keeping?
I'm good, man. I'm good.
Okay.
I've got the minister. Yes. Oh, I've got the minister on the line as well. So.
Okay. Good afternoon, Bermuda. Today we have via phone is Minister of Transport, Honorable Lawrence Scott. Good afternoon, Minister. How you doing?
Yes. Good afternoon, MP Famous. How are you doing?
I'm good. How's everything? How's your family holding up in these challenging times?
Just taking it a day at a time. That's all we can do.
Okay. All right. Sorry for the delay earlier, but we had a little technical issue we sorted out.
No
Minister, we'll dive right into it.
Sure.
How we made out with important for this year?
Well, what I'll do is I'll share some numbers with you. We had 14 weeks with a call every week, roughly 400 people on each ship, and a total economic impact of about $30 million to our economy at a time that we needed it the most.
Okay, and the critics will say exactly how do you calculate $30 million?
So $30 million is calculated through not just the passenger taxes and fees, but also the supplies that were bought from the local vendors, the tour operators that were used and utilized, all the average spending that was done through the online pools or the pools that were done with the follow-up that were done with the customers.
Okay. So how are we looking? How much longer do we have for home porting for the year?
Well, home porting is wrapping up. But what has happened is that with us having home porting, it actually attracted other contract cruise lines and a new cruise line, which was Crystal Cruises. They've just started back up, and this week is the breakaway. You'll start to see the breakaway back in Bermuda waters. And so once again, this is what is happening, where home porting showed that Bermuda was creative enough and was thinking outside the box enough in order to stimulate cruise visitors in a safe manner and introduce them to Bermuda in a safe manner, while the rest of the world was still reeling and trying to figure out how to make their economy work.
Okay. All right. So thanks for that good news. Now let's deal with something a little more topical. How are we making out as far as these new buses we get?
So the new buses are actually being built as we speak. They are production buses, meaning that they are produced in a factory, coming off the factory floor. No real special tweaks or modifications needed, so that kept the cost of them down. And then also what ends up happening is that it makes them a lot easier to be manufactured and sent to Bermuda. So we still are on track to take delivery of the 30 new buses in January of next year.
So as far as the infrastructure for charging these, they're electric buses, right?
Yes, these are fully electric buses.
And as far as the infrastructure for charging these buses, how are we with that?
We're making progress with that. You would probably see some of the trenching that's already been started, and then other trenching that will be starting soon to be able to charge the buses. And so, once again, this is actually part of a total electrification, a move towards electrification that the ministry and the government is looking to push. And so once again, we know that, and we see even in our day-to-day lives, more and more electric cars on the roads, more and more electric vehicles, and it helps with the greenhouse gases, it helps with sustainability, and we believe that this is the way we should go.
Yeah, and it helps Belco too. Minister, how are we making out as far as air routes? I know how we made out with the not Air Portugal, but Azores Air.
The Azores Air flight. That was a success. We are anticipating so they were, once again, they were seasonal. They were very successful. They have indicated that they will be back. My understanding is that they're going to be coming back to do some more charters for Christmas, during the Christmas, I would say the Christmas rush. But in the meantime, we are also looking at new destinations out of Bermuda. So what the ministry is doing is sort of transferring its mandate of serving the underserved in our community from not just public transportation and public service vehicles, but to air travel. And so we're now looking at air routes that are locally driven, that will modify, motivate, and inspire tourists to start coming to Bermuda. So what do I mean by that?
Yeah,
right
please,
now we get up.
That sounds like some would say that sounds like a lot of hype. Tell us what it really means.
And what it really means, it means that we are planning on putting on a air route, a nonstop air route between Bermuda and the Caribbean towards the end of this year, early next year. Initially, you have the Bermudians that are traveling to and from. We know that on average, through our numbers, that we have at least 198 people that travel down to the Caribbean per week. So the aircraft that we're looking at putting on would carry 150 people. The numbers work. But what happens is that Bermudians will go down and come back, and then they'll start telling their friends and family, and that it starts to generate what's called VFR, visiting friends and relatives. So Lawrence Scott goes down there to visit his friends and relatives and then says, hey, look, it's so convenient that you can go on a nonstop flight from Bermuda and then end up in the Caribbean. And within 2 flights, you can be anywhere in the Caribbean. And why don't you come to visit me here in Bermuda? Those turn into, from visiting friends and relatives, those friends go and tell other friends of theirs to go visit Bermuda, and those other friends tend to end up being tourists and first-time guests. And that's how, over time, we turn a locally driven route into a tourist-driven route, or a route that is something that we can market for tourism and our tourist product.
Yeah, because it's kind of like when you sit on a plane nowadays, it gives you your exact location, the plane flying, right? So it's kind of irritating, to be honest, right? When I'm flying, I'm going to fly up to New York or some northeastern destination, New York or Boston. I'm going to fly up to there, and then I'm going to fly on another plane right back across Bermuda to get down to the islands. And then vice versa, on the way back, I'm going to fly across Bermuda to go up to New York, and then catch another plane and fly right back down to Bermuda. It seems at the very most, it seems I'm using the word frustrating, but you could guess another word.
Yeah, no, and the thing is about when it comes to the air routes and having what we're looking to really do, it's looking to try to find a air service provider that could be based here in Bermuda. Now, with that aircraft or that piece of equipment being based here in Bermuda, it allows for the government as a whole. When I say government, that's Bermuda Tourism Authority, Bermuda Airport Authority, and then everybody and those other stakeholders to start saying where works for us. Because remember, our air routes and our current air service has been driven and has been dictated by the international companies. When I say international companies, I'm talking about the airlines. It's based off of what Delta, American, JetBlue, British Airways, Air Canada, United, what all of those airlines, how they see Bermuda. Do they see Bermuda as profitable? If they do, they put on a route. If they don't, they drop it. That's why you've seen the Miami flight go from daily service to weekly service, because to the airline it's not profitable, but for Bermudians it becomes an inconvenience. So imagine we were able to start to put on a flight where the other flights dropped off, and we could pick up that slack. That's the position that the Ministry of Transport would like to see this government in.
All right. Well, we're going to go to the news, and we'll be back in about 3 minutes. Thank you for the information, and we'll be getting into some more issues when we return.
No problem.
Now back to Motion to Adjourn with MP Chris Famous and Dwayne Robinson.
Yes, Minister, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm still here.
All right. Thank you, Brother Dawn.
No problem.
Sorry, I didn't properly introduce you, Brother Dawn. This is the Minister Lawrence Scott. Minister Lawrence Scott, Brother Dawn.
Good day, sir. Good day.
Good day, Brother Dawn.
Yeah, we spoke earlier.
Yeah. So, Minister, quick question. How are we making out as far as private transportation? Any new innovations?
Yes, actually, there's a lot of new innovation, and I was touching on that with the electric vehicles or the e-vehicles. Right now, what the ministry is exploring, and we've gone out to industry stakeholders to tell us what electric vehicle do they see as the best fit for Bermuda, and when we do that, we tell them not in thinking about today or tomorrow, but for 10 and 15 years from now, what kind of vehicle, what size vehicle, what power to rate. And so what we're looking at doing it now is learning from our past, meaning we know that car manufacturers do not take into consideration Bermuda's size and power to weight ratio restriction. So that means that when it comes to, and how can we also motivate, inspire the average Bermudian to want to trade in their current ICE car, meaning internal combustion engine vehicle, and trade that in or get an electric vehicle. And we believe that quality is key. And so the larger that you go with the manufacturer, the better quality of the product they tend to produce. And so that means we would have to look at allowing or relaxing our current legislation or restrictions on size and power to weight only for the electric cars. But I know that, and so that means the
why
Tesla
only
Model
for
S.
electric cars?
That only for electric cars, but that sounds and that sounds exciting and whatnot, and we get a lot of people anticipating bigger electric cars coming in. But let's not get too ahead of our skis. What do I mean? Meaning, we have to actually figure out how do we dispose of an electric car after it's past its useful life. So we can't just put an electric car in a landfill. We can't cut it in half because it's pretty much a rolling battery. We can't put that car in the incinerator. So we have to figure out how do we recycle these batteries, how do we decommission these cars before we even get the influx of new cars. What will our gas stations look like in 15 years' time with electric vehicles? What will our mechanics shops look like in 15 years' time with electric vehicles? So we have to work through all of these things, and once we work through that, then we can start looking at the exciting part of what size vehicle we're going to have, and when will the newest and biggest Tesla come to the island.
Okay. So let me ask you another question. We were doing all this innovative stuff, and I'm asking as citizen Joe Blow, why is it in Bermuda, of all the islands, maybe probably any country in the world, that doesn't allow for rental cars? And I don't mean the Twizzlers. I mean regular rental cars.
Well, to be honest, I believe that when it comes to regular rental cars, I think, and I know this sounds, for those that know transportation history in Bermuda, what I'm saying now about full-size rental cars was said about the transition from horse and buggy to cars. I think it would take away from our island. I think that the smaller cars, once again, remember, there are a lot of other variables. We have to, and I'll say the word protect. We have to protect our public service vehicles, that industry. We also have to make sure that if you start to look at just the way that our roads are very unique compared to other jurisdictions.
I would stop you there, Minister. Every island that I've been to, every road is unique, but there's no roads have a standard size. If I could drive a Kia in Bermuda, which is a private car, why can't I drive a rental car that's a Kia? The road don't change, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. No, but it's something that we're looking at. But for me, the thing is that where we've gotten so far is that we have to start looking at the unintended consequences, the impact on and I'll say most likely the biggest impact it would have would be on our public service vehicles, which is our taxis. But that can start a whole nother conversation.
I think that's subjective, because no disrespect to taxi drivers, but we have tourists that are renting bikes. We have tourists that are renting Twizzlers. So obviously there's a percentage of tourists that are already renting. Are we going to suddenly say, well, you know what, there's Twizzlers that go up, you're impacting the taxi drivers too much. There's bikes that you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, but remember the pushback that we had in the community when Twizzlers were being introduced. And the fact that where the taxi industry saw it was that, okay, well, it carries the same number of people and it carries the same amount of luggage as a bike would, but it's just it's relatively safer. And so that's where we are. But when you start having full-size cars, then you have to start looking at congestion on our roads, which we already see as congested. And then you start adding in, as I said, the unique driving habits. Yeah, you have unique driving habits everywhere. But for us, it's just something that we have to really look at. And for us, there are other things that we are prioritizing over the rental cars. One would be looking at Project Ride and making Project Ride more robust, looking at our licensing regime to make sure that we have drivers that are on our roads that are being trained how to handle cars and not just how to pass the test. So these are the things that we will be started prioritizing over that. Versus
I'm going to go on the limb and say we can walk and chew bubble gum at the same time. The Project Ride and locals driving is completely different from a tourist being able to rent a car when they reach. Because it's like literally, what the only island that does not rent cars to tourists? That I don't know. That I'm just saying from a traveler's point of view, it doesn't really put us in the top 10 to say, oh no, you can't rent a car in Bermuda.
Yeah, but if you, and I don't want to step into the tourism realm too much, but I don't believe that a high percentage of persons would choose another destination over Bermuda based off of whether they could rent a car here or not, especially when they have the alternative to do the Twizy and or the moped.
Okay, all right. Well, we have to revisit this because this is something that I really think that we as a government, all right, and I'm just putting back on my government that we as a government, we have inherited this mindset from the UBP that no, we can't rent cars, and there's no logic behind. There's no real logic behind it. Man, it's like I'm going to go on the record and say I do not think there's any logic behind why we are not renting cars. Because every single island there's an argument that but if the tourists get in the car, they can drive on the wrong side of the street. So when Bermudians go to America, they rent cars and they go on the wrong side of the street. No one's getting an accident. You know, and I'm just saying this has been the legacy arguments against rental cars. But let's move on to another brighter subject. We have an issue going on, an ongoing issue with our public service vehicles, i.e. the bus drivers, I shouldn't say bus drivers, bus operators, and now the ferry operators. What say ye, Minister?
I think that it would be helpful that we just put things in perspective. The bus operators last week indicated that they had some concerns about the health and safety conditions at the bus depot. At no time were those health and safety concerns raised in the Health and Safety Committee, nor were they raised in the JCC meeting.
Are these meetings minuted? Because either one of bus operators say, no, hold on, we got the writing minutes right here that said we raised these concerns.
No, no, there is no record that has been shown to the Ministry of Transport of these concerns being raised in the Health and Safety Committee or the JCC Committee. And so then what happened is that they informed DPT management that they were going to withhold their labor because of these health concerns. We asked them to put it in writing because they said they just wanted cleaning, so we asked for more specifics on it. When they provided that in writing and they provided the piece of legislation that they were using to justify their actions, we informed them that it was the wrong piece of legislation. They were using the wrong section under the Act. They admitted that they were using the wrong section. We then
who are the they that admitted?
Oh, sorry, the BIU bus division, the executive of the BIU bus division. Admitted that they were using the wrong section of the Act in which to try to justify their actions when they were using the correct section of the Act that spoke to the issues that they had raised. That section of the Act says that, yes, they are entitled to withhold their labor, but they must keep working until that concern has been investigated or reviewed by health. They had done tools prior to the investigation or review being done. After the review was done by the health department determined that it was unjustified and that it did not meet the criteria that would categorize their concerns as imminent threat to health and or safety, and so that they should not have gone to work. And later on, the health department then said that DPT had always gone above and beyond the mandated or legislative cleaning procedures and protocols and policies. And so for these reasons,
can one minute, mister. Let's reel back. I have to take off my MP hat and just put on my union hat for a minute. Can
Sure.
the DPP prove that the cleaning took place?
Yes. It's part of our policy. We can show that it was taking place, and the cleaning that was already taking place was above that of the legislation or what was mandated. And so that shows from the beginning, before anybody said anything, we, the management, DPT, the government, were ensuring that the members and the operators were safe because we went above what the cleaning, what the legislation says should be done. And the COVID protocols had already been approved by the health department.
Okay, so let me ask this here. Let me ask this here. We know that the health minister, Honorable Ken Wilson, and the premier have stated categorically, if you're not feeling well, stay home. Do not go to work and potentially spread COVID. Very potential. So from my understanding, there were 30 operators that were quarantined for whatever different reasons, not necessarily job related, but quarantined. There might have been personal, family contact or whatever it may be. Some, there was up to 10 being sent in at one time, from my understanding, right? So if the other bus operators were like, well, I worked with Lawrence yesterday. Does that consider me as a close contact? And out of abundance of caution, they said, maybe I may not want to go work today and infect my passengers. No, I'm just, again, saying, for some operators or some of the public, they're looking like, well, these guys were following health protocols. Now they're being penalized. What would one say to that?
One would say that under the OSHA Act 1982, Section 7, which is and that is a section that the BIU executive said that they were justifying their actions under, says that you have the right to report any health concerns when you think it is in the interest of, when you fear for your health, safety, or life. But you must remain at work until that investigation is done. They did not remain at work when that investigation was done. And at no time has the health department, has Ministry of Health indicated that there was any transmission at the DPT facility. Mm-hmm. So if you are saying that the government is in breach of an act, and then you don't follow that act yourself, you are actually acting unlawfully. And if you're acting unlawfully, how can the government justify covering you for that or paying you for those unlawful actions, when all of this could have been done without impacting the service?
So, again, taking off my MP hat, I am Joe Public. For the last 2 months, there's been one thing after another, interruption in the bus service. It was the one week it was the thing with the rental schedule. Following week it was in the industrial / non-industrial work stoppage. Now it's this. So, what, as from a general public point of view, what faith do I have in the public transportation system? What faith should I have in the public transportation system? Convince me not to go buy a car now.
Well, I don't think the Minister of Transport is going to convince you not to buy a car. But what I would say is what's happening is that we are seeing the grievance and the grievance policies and the dispute resolution policies not being followed. And what happens is that they're not being followed because the withholding of labor should be the last resort. After you've gone through every step, after you've received no joy at every step, and you feel as though there's nothing else that you can do and there's nothing else at your disposal, no other tools available. But what we are seeing now is the withholding of labor being the first step versus it being the last step. As I said, there's, as far as the records show, there's no official complaint to the Health and Safety Committee, nor are there any records of these exact concerns being brought to the JCC, nor were they working at the time that the Health Department did their investigation. All of these steps were not followed. So if you follow it, one thing, I'm a goalkeeper, I play football, I've done a lot of training, and I was always told, trust the process. If you trust the process, it will work. You have to trust the process. But if you don't follow the process, you don't end up where you should be.
All right, because here's the thing, Minister. Right, like you, I'm an MP, and I have constituents that don't have any transportation, that rely on public transportation, whether it's the bus, the ferry, or a combination thereof. If you're coming from the east, there's no ferry service. That's a whole other conversation. But we have no ferry service from the east. My point is, for the average citizen that's relying on public transportation, that whether it's because of the rental scheduling, whether it's because of the issue between the BIU and the PLP a few weeks ago, or now this COVID, I'm feeling very frustrated. I am starting to lose faith in the public transportation system. Not you, but the government or the union, they could present their cases. All of that, none of that adds up to me actually being able to get on a bus and go to my doctor's appointment. None of that adds up to me getting on a bus and being able to get to work on time or get him to pick up my children. So my point is the public is fed up. Like this is what sometimes gets lost in the people get lost in the translation that all of this affects the public and the public's fed up. So this is things that both sides have to understand. Like, and as you said, let that be the last option. Like.
And that is not, and that frustration, I totally understand it. And this is why the government is saying, let's get back to work. And that's why from the beginning, DPT management and the government were going above and beyond the cleaning process. We understand that we have to keep our people safe. We understand that in these times of heightened anxiety, justifiable heightened anxiety that, we want to be extra careful. And so that's why we put in those policies and procedures that went above and beyond the original cleaning mandate. And also on top of that, we're trying our best. I understand it. I don't shy away from it. And we are doing our best to try to resolve this as quickly as possible. And so we have reached out to the unions on every aspect that we can to get them to the negotiating table.
Because let me tell you what's going to be the net result with the continued, especially with the bus situation. People are going to figure out, well, these bosses and the government are always at loggerheads. I need to get my own transportation because I can't be late for work or I can't be whatever. And we're going to see people have lose faith in the bus system. So even when we get the new buses, people's going to be like, I don't know, maybe there's going to be a strike tomorrow. Maybe the bus is going to break down next week. That's the type of thing in the long run where currency gets lost. The government, whichever government, OBA, PLP, UBP, the government heavily subsidizes public transportation. $5 to get you from Devonshire all the way to Dockyard if you play your cards right, or whatever the price may be. If you have to get in a taxi or something else, it'll cost you 10 times as much. So it's heavily subsidized. But the public, the taxpayer, the bus users are losing faith. And that, I'm just got to keep it real with you, Minister.
Yeah, no, and I understand it. Nothing you've said is incorrect, and that's why we're working extra hard to make sure that we can provide that consistent, reliable service. And I believe that we're not far off from having that consistent, reliable service. I believe that our goal is that come April of next year, we will have reduced or the I'll say mass cancellations that we've seen for years plague our public service system. And so because we're going to be bringing on more bus operators, we're going to be bringing on the necessary new high-value assets, which is the buses that are going to be needed to be able to run both winter and summer schedules. And so, we are going through a rough patch now, just as everybody is. But
just one second, gentlemen.
No problem.
If I may, we have Mr. Ball on the line with us as well. Go ahead, Mr. Ball.
Yes, good evening to the panel. Good evening, Minister.
Good evening.
Yeah, I'm just calling in regards to some of the comments that I heard. Unfortunately, I cannot hear it now while I'm on the phone. But you did mention, Minister, that the myself, as being the co-chair, did not reach out and have a meeting. And I would beg to differ, as I've spoken to and I've told the committee in front of our PS and director, that we did reach out as being the non-management of the Safety and Health Committee, and we did request a meeting, and we were told by the other co-chair that at the present moment, this will not happen. So I want to make it extremely clear that we did reach out, that we did make the effort, as I have spoken to you, and we had a conversation, and we did make every attempt to rectify this before it went to the distance that it did. And we want to be extremely clear right now what we're saying on the airwaves to the public. So I can speak for myself as being a co-chair that this did not happen, and that we did make every effort to get ourselves in a better space prior to the service shutting down. And I want to make sure that the listening audience understands that DPT's first suggestion to the director was to have a shutdown once we got across a certain amount of cases and have a deep clean. And that offer was rejected. And we are now, of course, where we are in regards to going back and forth with communications to try and get the service back lifted so that the public can be taken to and from for their convenience.
And just for clarity, if we're going to make sure that the record is being set straight, Mr. Ball, you are the co-chair of the Health and Safety Committee, and you could have called the meeting yourself.
Yeah,
You didn't need anybody else's permission. So therefore,
honestly,
saying that you wanted to request a meeting means
we
that
have to
you
be very
could have called the
transparent.
meeting yourself. You did not need anybody else's permission. But one thing is, I think it is respectful of the process that we do not have this have the back and forth conversation in the public domain. I think that it is better that we end up letting the process see its way out and sort of go through the process itself.
But and I thank you for your statement, Minister. But I would say, with all due respect, if the non-management team call for a meeting and the management team do not respect the request of the non-management team, who is going to be in the meeting? We need, by Constitution and by our agreement, we need 4 members from non-management, 1 member from management. So if management do not step up to the plate, how can we have a meeting, have a quorum? I'll continue to listen from off the air. Thank you very much to the Brother Famous and to the caller that's on, and I'll continue to listen off air.
Hello?
Hello?
Yes. Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes. All right. Thank you, Brother Bull, for calling in.
Thank you. Can you guys hear me for a moment? Hello?
Can I hear you?
Yeah,
I hear you.
Yeah, because of course, we have another brother that's trying to reach in. Shall I just add him to the call, or what you want me to do?
Well, I think we I don't know if you want to deliberate this sort of thing in the public, but what I would say to you as a unionized brother is, yes, we have to stick together. Yes, we have to make sure we're working in safe conditions. I work local, so safety is priority. But at the end of the day, I shouldn't say at the end of the day, what we also have to ensure is that our customers are being served as well, because if we have a dispute at Belka, for example, we have to deal with that to some extent, but we can't cut off the people's lights until this dispute is sorted out. You understand what I'm saying?
I would totally agree with that if it wasn't for the fact that we're dealing with a pandemic right now. We're talking about COVID and the lives and safety of people. I would totally agree.
I wasn't. If you had listened to me earlier, what I said is, in the last 3 weeks, 2 weeks, a month, or whatever you want to call it, there have been several reasons why the operators haven't been operating. Let me put it that way. Rather it be the dispute with the rental schedule, or the dispute between the union and the government, and all this. So what I'm simply saying is that to the public that catches buses, that rely on public transportation, the reasons doesn't no longer matter to them. I'm not saying it shouldn't matter to you and your membership. It doesn't matter to the public, because they are now feeling like every week, every other week now we're being stranded. And that's what I'm saying. The long-term effect is that it's going to cause the public to either pay taxes or use the buses to start to lose faith in the public transportation system.
Yeah, and I would totally agree with you. I think as well we have to look at this, and we have to ask ourselves why so many times has it come to this risk? Why does it seem like all of a sudden DPT has such major issues where we have to go through the process of labor, we have to go through the process of having to don tools? For the last 30, 40 years, this hasn't happened, not even close to as much. So why all of a sudden now? And that's where, again, having conversations and having, dialogue, we always look at the end result, but we also have to ask ourselves the question, where did this start from? And why did it start where it started? So again, like you said just now, the public may sit up here and say, why does it seem like right now DPT is having all these major issues week after week, month after month? Well, we have to look and say to ourselves, what has transpired recently that may have caused these issues to take place where it wasn't happening before? And of course, there may be a lot of gray areas that the public don't know. Like I made mention yesterday when I was on the talk show, and how the minister is defending his stance. We have a lot of things going on at EPT right now that we feel for ourselves are just not needed and just not warranted. We have asked, we have had meetings, we have had conversations, and it seems like we're going around in the mulberry bush. So I would need for us to be very mindful of our actions. One, as being the president, but also I say as being from being the public. We need your assistance and your patience as we try and work through this. People may say, you know what, you guys are not running, it's your fault. I get that. You know, that's a part of the job that I carry. But at the same time, I know for a fact, the facts. And that's what we're standing up for right now, the facts. We're not standing up for hearsay. We're not standing up for what we think we know. We're standing up for the facts. And our health and our safety is our number one priority. Thank you.
All right. Well, Brother Bull, I think what we're going to have to do, to be fair, is schedule another interview with you yourself another time. How are you amenable to that?
Oh, by all means, yes. I would say myself.
All right.
I would love to. I know my counterpart, Brother Wade, is eager to come on or have a conversation with you as well. So we will be more than happy, and even probably a member from the garage. We'd be more than happy to come on and share our views and to let you know our side of the story.
Well, I'm going to put back on my PLP MP hats right for a moment right now, right? And there's been a lot of insinuation over the last couple of weeks that this government is not labor friendly. And let me assure you, brother to brother, union brother to union brother, black man to black man, that's far from the case. As a government, we have to juggle so many different things at present, public health being our priority, keeping our economy going, because if our economy collapses, we're not going to have the money to pay civil servants. I think we're all recognizable of that. So what I would implore of you and your brothers and sisters, because I have quite a few brothers of your brothers and sisters who is WhatsApp, is just understand that this government is a labor government. We have always been a labor government. And in being a labor government, we have to be able to juggle the expectations and the needs of not only the workers, but the people that are paying the workers, which is the taxpayers, the people that elected us to make sure that we keep everything going. So this is all I would say to you personally in my position as a PLP MP, right? So I would talk to you over, and what I would say is the minister that you have there is a person that loves the whole transportation, and just work with him. That's all I ask of you, all right?
Thank you very much, MP, Brother Chris. Brother Famous. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Have a great afternoon. Thanks for calling in.
Thank you.
All right, Minister?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, sorry for having to steal some of your thunder.
The thing is, I think that was good, so that the public was able to hear key points from both sides at the same time. So, and once again, this is nothing personal about against any one individual or any one organization. This is just a differencing of opinion where the government has to protect the interest of those that they represent, which is the general public, while the unions have to protect the interest of those that they represent, which is the bus operators in this case.
I would agree with you, but we also like a Venn diagram. We have to understand this is almost one and the same as well, right? Because every bus operator has a relative that uses the bus. Every one in the public has someone who they are related to who is a bus operator. I have at least two bus operators who are my cousins. Yeah. WhatsApp me right now. I can't even reply to the WhatsApp picture after that. So I don't want them to think I'm ignoring. I'll reply to you when I'm finished, cousin. But the point I'm saying is that most islands, I've been to many islands. Most islands don't have public transportation systems. Most islands rely on a fleet of minibuses, privately owned minibuses and taxis to move the people around. And to some extent, the people don't get the service that they deserve. The minibuses stop there for a certain time. There's not reliable service. There's no schedule. So what I'm saying is, what people in Bermuda need to realize is that what the governments over the last 1940, 1947 is when we first had the public buses. The government is subsidizing this at a loss to ensure that people are able to get to point A to point B in a safe, number one, safe manner. Two, at a reduced price. And three, in a timely manner. And Bermuda, we probably need to have a bigger conversation about the fact that we're one of the few islands that provide public service, public transportation. Other islands is like, you're basically on your end. So
no, yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. And so, but yeah, once again, the thing is that we're going through a rough patch right now, and as I say, joy cometh in the morning. Where I know we'll work through this one way or the other, and we'll be better together on the other side.
All right. Well, what I would say to you, ministers, I know you have passion for not just aeroplanes, but public transportation on a whole. And I'll say to you, as your PLP brother, just hang in there. This is the time that we prove ourselves to our people.
Yeah.
Right. So to you, you have to come back another time and we can talk to you on the ferry service.
Oh,
but
sure.
To the staff and the management at Marine and Ports and the ferry service, I say to you, as my brothers and sisters, that we are going to do the best that we can. And that's not just words. All right?
Yeah. Yep.
Well, thank you, Minister.
Thank you.
Hope you're not charging me by the hour.
Oh, no, not at all. Not at all.
All right.
All right, then. Thank you. Have a good one.
Thank you. So we're gonna schedule a follow-up where we talk about this ferry service, and when I get to pick your brains again about no rental cars in Bermuda. And there's another one. The other people are allowed to bring in second-hand cars. So you need to know an explanation as to why we can't do that in Bermuda as yet.
You said to bring in second-hand cars?
Yes, in other islands.
Yes.
In other words, if I want to buy a second vehicle, I have to borrow $40,000 or $50,000 and go pay one of the car dealers in Bermuda, or I go on email or whatever and try to find a second-hand car, and I'm still paying a pretty high price. In other islands, people are able to go online, just like you go on Amazon and order a new joystick for your PlayStation, right? People are able to go on there and say, okay, I want that your 2010 Toyota Camry, and of course, time you do shipping and lending, it costs you a fraction of what these people are charging for a brand new car. And we have to be innovative in more ways than one. I'm just the poor people's advocate right now, so we have another conversation about this.
Oh yeah. And I think that the first thing is that what prohibits Bermuda from doing a lot of things that our brothers and sisters to the south of us do is our geographical location. Brothers and sisters to the south can actually, in some cases, ship their old cars back to the United States and put it in a landfill in Florida. Or they can ship their old cars to a neighboring island and have it dealt with that way and become something else. But also, the cost of doing business in Bermuda is just high, based off of the resources and the logistics that are needed to bring it into the island and to get it off the island. But once again, when you bring in a car, if I was to buy a 2005 Toyota Camry to bring into Bermuda, that car is already close to 20 years. It's close to 20 years old. Yeah, it might cost me $1,000, but it's close to 20 years old. I get 2 years out of it here in Bermuda. I can't afford to get it towed away, and it ends up becoming an abandoned vehicle somewhere. These are the things that we have to look at prior to to just saying what everybody else does. Look at the logistics behind it. But yeah, we can have that conversation at another time.
Yeah, because you tell you why I like having ministers on, right? Not because you're my colleagues, but because a lot of things the public want to know the answers, right? Or want to have certain questions. And if 9 times out of 10, they don't have a direct contact with the minister. If
Correct.
they do able to send an email, it may actually go through the PS. But a lot of these, the public is like not sure about or unclear about. Ministers need to come on. Not that they don't do it already, but you need to come on this show, Motion to Adjourn, and we're going to exercise objective questions and conversations on this show.
Yeah, no, I
Because
agree.
As
And
much
that's why
as
I
I'm
like
a PLPMP, I have to answer to people in the public. Or we both do, I should say. But anyway, Minister Scott, thank you. Thank you, Brother Dawn, for giving us this extra time.
That's okay.
Sorry.
I'll send you the invoice.
let me give you the address. The
Okay.
address is number 5, Red DTT.
Got it.
You got a
All right.
lifetime of what they call that, bus tickets for this show.
Mercy. I haven't ridden the bus in it's got to be over 40 years.
Wow.
Oh.
Been a while.
By the time you got on the bus, you have Wi-Fi on the
I'm
bus.
telling you, that's next. Watch.
That is next, yes.
All right. Well, thanks again, Minister.
All right, thank you.
All right.
And
Brother Dawn.
thank you, Brother Bud.
All right.
Bermuda, thank you for tuning in. I got a lot of WhatsApps to reply to. Thank you, Brother Dawn. Talk.
Okay. And you have been listening to Motion to Adjourn with MP Chris Famous and Dwayne Robinson.